mean, the rest head itself, it's difficult to keep that steady.
We're looking for the best shots from the Masters Snooker Championships, so I've put a list together of the top 16 shots from the tournament, and we're going to decide which is best by attempting to recreate these shots as accurately as possible in the fewest possible attempts. But we're going to begin with Shaun Murphy, who needs the difficult red on the side cushion to win the frame against Neil Robertson, so he manages to cannon it out of the blue and leave it right over the middle pocket. As you can see, to play this I'm using a small amount of left hand side to straighten the cue ball up off the cushion. I thought I overhit this one, but it just about held up. Judd Trump is next, potting the black and then playing the cue ball around the table for the red on the top cushion. This needed to be a really accurate shot here. There isn't a lot of room between the green and the pink, but not only do you have to get through this gap, as we're about to see, you also have to be very precise with the weight of the shot. I very nearly got this on my first attempt, but just very slightly underhit it. Any harder I probably would have got there. It was a little bit annoying really, because if it had been a warmer day outside and not freezing cold, I probably would have got this on my first attempt as well. To play this shot I was using backspin to stun the cue ball to around about the baulk line and left hand side to spin it around the three cushions and onto the red. Under the circumstances, when the frame's still live, I think this was quite a good shot, but I really don't think it's as difficult as I'm making it look here. I eventually just about got it on my 7th attempt, but I think I should have got it a lot quicker. Now for the Luca Brecel rest shot that you've all probably been waiting for. On the day Luca played the shot, I remember wondering how difficult it was going to be, so I had a quick go at it and pretty much miscued straight away. So this is my first real attempt. But I did have stuck in the back of my mind for the first few shots how easy it was to miscue it. So I probably didn't play the first few as well as I should have done, but at least I didn't miscue on any of these attempts. The problem I was having was the cue ball bouncing. That and potting the ball, it was an incredibly awkward shot from this position, but what I was finding when I did pot it was I was jumping the cue ball too much, so it wasn't getting enough backspin on the table and I wasn't ending up on the brown. So I had to strike the cue ball low enough to stop it bouncing without ever miscuing the shot, and I managed to just about get away with that on my 12th attempt, which was a bit annoying because Ken Doherty on the BBC managed to play this straight away when he was recreating shots and basically stealing my job, which is annoying because he seems to be better at it than I am. But the most annoying thing is I can actually reach it, so for me this shot isn't really that difficult. Next is Ronnie O'Sullivan with a great pot on the red that put him in a position to force a decider against Mark Williams. Potting the ball the length of the table from this position is never guaranteed, so Ronnie managed to keep the cue ball in a safe position by not letting it come back too far off the cushion. I was pretty happy to get this on my first attempt, but the cue ball went a bit too far. But it was a really casually played shot from Mark Williams where he simply rolls in this long red that allows him to go on and win that decider. After a few shots I've struggled with, I seem to be a bit more on a roll now, so can I, like Mark, pot this red under pressure on my first attempt? Yes, and I managed to get the cue ball in position as well. Barry Hawkins has Judd Trump in a snooker that he desperately needs to hit, but not only does he manage to hit the blue here, he also manages to pot it. I really didn't think this shot was going to be too difficult. It's a simple one cushion escape, and if you hit the blue you should pot it. So I was a bit surprised to not only miss the blue on my first few attempts, but miss it altogether. And because the blue isn't as close to the pocket as I thought it was, it needs a really full hit. And it's actually a lot better shot than I first gave it credit for, so 7 attempts probably isn't that bad, although I did it a bit too hard. Stuart Bingham's showing off his cue power now as he manages to screw back topside of the blue, and I'm a little bit worried about this one because I genuinely believe it's the hardest shot I've had to attempt in some time. I think Stuart only played this shot with backspin, but I'm having to use right hand side as well as the cushion to help the cue ball back. This was making the pot very difficult to line up accurately. And on my 6th attempt I just got lucky more than anything and it went right in the middle of the pocket, although this is about as far back as I could get the cue ball. Next is Mark Williams having a 100 break and doubling the black at the end. Mark didn't need to play this shot, he could have just potted it, but he casually plays a double for 107. And although this shot isn't massively tough, it's a little bit harder than it looks, so I was pretty happy to just rattle it in on my first attempt. So here we have Stuart Bingham doubling the green, which he may not have even played. Which will make a difference in a minute when we decide which is the cheekiest double. This saw the Mark Williams shot, but one thing for sure, this is definitely a lot harder shot to play. And I wasn't expecting to get this on my first attempt, but it went in as a fluke more than anything else. So it's time to cue the music. The Mark Williams shot wasn't really that difficult, but he played it incredibly casually at the end of 100 breaks, so he gets 4 chilies. However, the Stuart Bingham shot was a lot harder and it happened at a crucial time, so he also receives 4 chilies. But Mark Williams goes on to win because Stuart Bingham ended up losing the frame. Unfortunately now we've got Judd Trump screwing the cue ball out of the pocket in a way that makes the Stuart Bingham shot look easy. To be honest, it's about the same distance away and I don't have to screw back nearly as far, but I don't have the cushion to help this time. But after playing the Stuart Bingham shot I was suddenly cueing a lot better, and something really surprising happened. I overscrewed it by quite a long way. On my second attempt I did the same thing again and ended up about in the right place. Barry Hawkins is next up with a very well controlled snooker against Judd Trump. These shots can be really challenging to get the cue ball on the right line and to get it to stop in exactly the right place. My touch needed to be perfect here, and on my first attempt I pretty much whacked it, thought I played it too hard, but luckily the cue ball stopped in exactly the right place. It's a ping down a cushion now for Judd Trump, and this one's crucial because it allows him to go on and make a 1-4-3 and share the highest break prize. Now I probably have a little bit of an advantage with shots like these as my pockets are probably more generous than what you see on TV, although the ones at the Masters look quite big. However, I was still pretty happy to get this on my first attempt. It's a snooker escape next up from Sean Murphy, who managed to get around the angles perfectly and land touching the red. Interestingly, I've got a bit of an advantage on snooker escapes as well, because I could just see what the player does and try and copy the same thing. I noticed Sean put quite a lot of left-hand side here to get the cue ball around the yellow and find the correct line, and it worked. I was pretty happy to get this straight away. Judd Trump is switching hands now to pot the brown at a crucial part of the frame. He pots the brown down the cushion right-handed and manages to get out for the blue, so to make this fair I'm potting the brown down the opposite cushion left-handed, but I'm flipping it around so it looks like it's my right hand. Seems complicated and probably is. Either way, this shot wasn't really as difficult as I was expecting it to be. It was pretty comfortable, to be truthful. We've got Jack Lazowski shot coming up next after we find Mehmet from Izmir, Turkey, which is there. You can tell that Jack has Peter Ebden as a coach now because it is probably one of the first times he's ever appeared on this list for playing a safety shot, and it's a really good one, getting the cue ball tight in behind the brown here. This really helped him out in his match against John Higgins, but the annoying thing with these types of shot is if you played it normally and got the cue ball somewhere near the yellow and brown but not quite getting the snooker, you'd still be pretty happy with the safety shot. But here I've got to get the cue ball absolutely spot on in behind the yellow or brown, which is definitely a lot more challenging. I'd have been happy to get this shot in anywhere under about 15 attempts, just because of how hard it is. But of course it's not really the most exciting shot I've played all day at the same time. The problem I was having was getting the cue ball to break wide enough, so I used quite a lot of side spin on my last attempt and got the snooker nicely. So for the results, I'm giving third place to Stuart Bingham with this ready screwed back for the blue. This is one of the hardest shots I've had to play in some time, and the only real way I could do it was by cheating slightly and using a hell of a lot of side spin. Second place goes to Mark Williams. Just the sheer amount of pressure on this shot made it one of the best of the week for me. But maybe predictably, first place goes to Luca Brecel with the rest shot off the cushion. Even though I probably could have reached it and he didn't end up winning the frame from it, playing it like this was incredibly difficult. So we end on a complete anticlimax, as the best shot of the week makes absolutely no difference whatsoever, so sorry about that. However, if you do want to see me recreating shots that do make a difference, have a look at these two videos. And remember, don't just watch play, and make the commitment to becoming a better player by subscribing to the channel and visit the website. See you later.